The colony ship Gentle Harmony drifted through the cold darkness of space. It was a beautiful vessel, built by the people for peaceful travel between star systems. The ship carried 3,000 souls, including families, children, and elders who had left their home world to start a new life on a distant colony. Ambassador stood on the bridge, his thin body trembling with fear. He was tall like all, nearly 8 feet in height, but his bones were hollow and light. His skin was pale blue, almost transparent, and his large dark eyes showed every emotion he felt. Right now, those eyes showed pure terror. 3 raider ships surrounded the Gentle Harmony. They had appeared from nowhere, dropping out of hyperspace like predators finding prey. They were pirates, the most feared creatures in this part of the galaxy. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who tried to stop them. "Ambassador, our shields are failing," said the ship captain, a young named. Her voice shook as she spoke. "We have no weapons, we cannot fight them." Knew this already, they had never needed weapons. Their home world was a paradise, a place of gentle weather and soft ground. They had evolved without predators, without danger, without any need for violence. Their bodies were fragile. A fall from a short height could break their bones. They could not run fast or fight hard. They were a peaceful people in every way. But peace meant nothing to them. The communication screen flickered and a horrible face appeared. The commander was massive, covered in dark armor that grew from his own body. His eyes were small and cruel. His mouth opened to show rows of sharp teeth. "Little birds," the commander said with a laugh. "You fly so far from your nest. You carry goods and treasures. You will give them to us now." Stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "Please, we are only colonists. We carry families, not treasures. We have nothing of value to you." They laughed again. It was an ugly sound like stones grinding together. "You have food, you have technology, you have slaves." He leaned closer to the screen. "Your children will serve us well." The bridge fell silent. The crew members looked at each other with horror. They all knew what slavery meant. It meant a short life of pain and suffering until death came as a mercy. Turn 2, "Ambassador, what do? We cannot fight, we cannot run. Our engines are damaged." Closed his eyes and thought. They had allies, but they were too far away. The nearest friendly ships would take days to arrive. They did not have days. They had hours at most. Then a thought came to him, a terrible thought, a thought that made his blood run cold. There was one species that might be close enough to help. One species that every civilized race in the galaxy feared and avoided. One species that came from a world so dangerous, so violent, so extreme that it was classified as a death world. The humans of Earth had never met a human. Few had. The humans kept to themselves mostly, staying in their own part of the galaxy, but stories about them spread across every star system, stories that sounded like nightmares. They said humans came from a world where the ground shook and split open, a world where mountains exploded with fire, a world where the weather could kill in 100 different ways. They said humans hunted predators for sport. They said humans could survive injuries that would kill any other species. They said humans were strong, fast, and utterly without fear. The galaxy called them. "Ambassador," asked, seeing the strange look on his face. Opened his eyes. "There is one option we have not considered." "What option?" "The human communication frequency." The bridge went completely silent. Every stopped what they were doing. They stared at their ambassador as if he had lost his mind. "The humans," whispered. "Ambassador, we cannot. They are dangerous. They are unpredictable. We do not know what they might do." "I know exactly what they will do," replied. "They will kill our elders. They will enslave our children. They will destroy everything we are. The humans might be dangerous, but they are our only chance." He walked to the communication console and began entering the frequency. His hands shook as he worked. He was about to do something that no had ever done. He was about to ask for help. Grabbed his arm. The Council will never forgive this. You will be called a traitor. You will be cast out from our people. Looked at her with sad eyes. If our people survive, I will accept any punishment. If calling the humans means our children live, then I will carry that shame forever. He pressed the transmit button and spoke into the microphone. This is Ambassador of the colony ship Gentle Harmony. We are under attack by raiders. We have 3,000 civilians aboard, including many children. We have no weapons and no defenses. If any human vessel can hear this message, we beg for your assistance. Please help us. The message went out into the void of space, traveling at the speed of light in all directions. 12 light minutes away, at the edge of the sector, a human patrol ship picked up the signal. Commander Mitchell was drinking coffee in his ready room aboard the USS Valor when the alert came. He was a man of average height with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. He had served in the Space Command for 15 years, and he had seen many things in his career, but he had never received a distress call from an alien species before. "Commander, to the bridge," came the voice of his tactical officer over the intercom. Mitchell set down his coffee and walked quickly to the bridge. The crew was already at their stations. Lieutenant Kate stood at the tactical console, her red hair tied back in a tight bun. Doctor, the ship's medical officer, had come up from sickbay. Sergeant, the combat team leader, leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. "What do we have?" Mitchell asked. Played the distress call. The alien voice was strange but understandable. The fear in that voice was clear to everyone. "Colony ship, 3,000 civilians attacked by raiders," summarized. "They are 12 light minutes from our position." Muttered, "I have heard of them. Big, armored, very nasty. They like to take slaves." Mitchell looked at the tactical display. The Valor was a heavy cruiser, well armed and well crewed. They had the firepower to handle pirates. The question was whether they could get there in time. "Navigation, plot a jump to those coordinates," Mitchell ordered. "Maximum speed." "Sir," said the navigation officer, "we would be entering a combat situation with an unknown number of hostiles. Should we not request backup?" Mitchell shook his head. "By the time backup arrives, those people will be dead or worse. We go now." He turned to face his crew. "All hands, battle stations. We have civilians in danger and pirates to deal with. Let us show these what happens when they mess with ships under human protection." The crew moved with quick precision. Within minutes, the Valor was ready for combat jump. The engines powered up with a deep hum that filled the ship. Far away, aboard the Gentle Harmony, received a response to his distress call. It was short and simple, sent in clear galactic standard language. "This is Commander Mitchell of the Earth vessel USS Valor. Hold on, we are coming." Read the message 3 times. Then he sank into his chair and covered his face with his hands. He did not know if he had saved his people or doomed them. He had summoned the. Now all he could do was wait and pray. The USS Valor dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. The ship appeared suddenly in the middle of the dark void, engines still glowing from the jump. Commander Mitchell stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main. The scene before him was exactly what he had expected. The colony ship, the Gentle Harmony, drifted in space like a wounded animal. Smoke trailed from damaged sections of the hull. Emergency lights blinked in patterns that spoke of failing systems. Around the helpless vessel, 3 raider ships circled slowly, like hungry wolves around a fallen deer. "Report," Mitchell ordered. Lieutenant Kate worked her console with fast fingers. 3 vessels, sir. 2 light raiders and 1 heavy assault ship. The colony vessel has lost shields and main power. Life support is running on backup systems. I am reading 3,000 life signs aboard, but that number is dropping. Dropping. They have already begun boarding operations. One of their ships is attached to the colony vessel. I am reading life signs inside the Gentle Harmony. Mitchell's jaw tightened. Every second they waited meant more deaths. Open a channel to the vessels, all frequencies. The communication officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Mitchell stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply stated facts. Attention vessels. This is Commander Mitchell of the Earth Space Command Vessel USS Valor. You are attacking a civilian ship that has requested our protection. You have 1 minute to disengage, release any prisoners, and leave this sector. This is your only warning. For a moment there was silence. Then the main screen flickered and a face appeared. The creature was massive, its head covered in thick plates of natural armor. Its eyes were small and black, showing no emotion. Its mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile. Earth vessel, the commander said. I am Warlord. I have never heard of your species. I do not know your world, but I can see your ship and it is small. We are 3. You are 1. Do you truly think you can make demands of me? Mitchell did not blink. I think you have 40 seconds left to make a smart decision. Laughed. The sound was harsh and ugly, like metal scraping against stone. Bold words from a creature I have never seen before. Tell me, human, what makes you think you can fight the... We are the terror of 1,000 star systems. We have crushed species far greater than yours. 30 seconds, Mitchell replied. The warlord leaned closer to his screen, studying the human with curiosity. You show no fear. Interesting. Most species beg for mercy when they face us. They cry and plead and offer everything they have. But you stand there like you have already won the battle. Why? Mitchell allowed himself a small smile. Because I have. Snorted, foolish creature. You will learn the cost of your pride. All ships destroy the human vessel, take their crew as slaves. I want to see what these humans look like when they scream. The communication channel closed. The 2 raiders began moving toward the Valor, weapons charging with an ugly red glow. Looked at her commander. Orders, sir. Mitchell sat down in his command chair. Show them what Earth can do. The battle began in an instant. The Valor surged forward, engines blazing at full power. The ship moved with a speed that they had never seen before. Their weapons fired, but the human vessel was already somewhere else. It danced through space like a living thing, dodging and weaving through the energy beams. Worked her console with the focus of a master musician playing an instrument. She had trained for years in human combat academies, learning to fight against enemies faster and stronger than humans. Those lessons had made her very, very good at her job. Targeting the first raider, she announced, firing main batteries. The Valor's weapons spoke with thunder. Blue plasma bolts crossed the void in the blink of an eye, slamming into the first ship. The enemy shields flickered and died under the assault. A second volley tore through the hull, and the raider exploded in a ball of orange fire. The second raider tried to flee. It turned away from the Valor, engines pushing to maximum. But the human ship was faster. Mitchell's crew had trained for chases. They knew how to cut off escape routes and corner their prey. He is running, said. Do not let him, Mitchell replied. The Valor closed the distance in seconds. Another volley of plasma bolts found their target. The second raider came apart in pieces, scattering debris across the battlefield. The whole engagement had taken less than 2 minutes. On the bridge of the Gentle Harmony, Ambassador watched in stunned silence. He had expected a battle. He had expected explosions and death and perhaps mutual destruction. He had not expected this. The human ship moved like nothing he had ever seen. It was fast, precise, and utterly deadly. The raiders, which had seemed so terrifying just moments ago, were now burning wreckage floating in the void. The humans had destroyed them as easily as a wind scatters dry leaves. By the stars, whispered beside him, what are these creatures? Had no answer. He could only watch as the human vessel turned toward the remaining ship, the heavy assault vessel that was still attached to the Gentle Harmony. Aboard the Valor, Mitchell studied the tactical display. The third ship was locked onto the colony vessel. Its boarding tubes were extended, connecting the two ships together. He could not simply destroy it without risking damage to the civilians. "Can you get a clean shot?" "Negative, sir. The assault ship is using the colony vessel as a shield. If we fire, we risk hitting the civilians." Mitchell nodded slowly. He had expected this. There were pirates, but they were not stupid. They knew how to use hostages. "Then we do this the hard way," he said. He pressed the intercom button. "Sergeant, prepare your team for boarding operations. We are going in." Down in the armory, Sergeant smiled when he heard the order. He was a big man, tall and broad with dark skin and hard eyes. He had been a soldier his entire adult life, and he was very good at what he did. "You heard the commander," he called to his team. "Full combat gear. We have to deal with and civilians to protect. Move fast and hit hard. Do not give them time to think." His team responded with quick efficiency. 6 soldiers geared up in minutes, checking weapons and armor with practiced hands. They were ready for violence. They were ready for blood. The Valor moved closer to the colony ship, matching its drift and speed. The docking tube extended, connecting with an emergency airlock on the Gentle Harmony, led his team through the tube and into the alien vessel. The corridor inside was dark. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The air smelled of smoke and something else, something that recognized immediately. It was the smell of fear. He raised his hand, signaling his team to stop. He listened carefully, using senses that had been trained in 100 combat zones. He could hear movement ahead, heavy footsteps, the clicking sounds that made when they communicated. "Contact ahead," he whispered. "Form up and move slow. We clear every section as we go. Priority is civilian protection. If you see a, put it down. No hesitation." The team moved forward through the darkness. They were about to show the galaxy why humans were called. Aboard his assault ship, Warlord watched the destruction of his raiders with cold fury. He could not believe what he had witnessed. His ships, crewed by veteran warriors, had been destroyed in moments. The human vessel had cut through them like a blade through soft meat. And now the humans were boarding the colony ship. They were coming for him. For the first time in his long life, felt something he had never expected to feel. He felt doubt. He felt the cold touch of uncertainty in his chest. Who were these humans? What kind of world created such fierce and fearless creatures? He did not know, but he was about to find out. They had arrived, and they were hungry for battle. Sergeant moved through the dark corridors of the Gentle Harmony with his team close behind. The ship was a maze of passages and rooms, all built for creatures much taller and thinner than humans. The ceilings were high, the doorways narrow, and the lighting was dim even when working properly. Private Amy Torres walked its right side. She was small but fierce, with quick hands and sharp eyes. Behind her came Corporal Graham, a quiet man who never missed a shot. The rest of the team followed in practiced formation, each soldier watching a different angle. The sounds of the ship filled the silence. Damaged systems hummed and clicked. Somewhere in the distance, metal groaned as the vessel shifted, and underneath it all could hear something else, screaming, crying, the sounds of terrified aliens. "Move faster," ordered. "People are dying." They turned a corner and found their first survivors. A group of 10 aliens huddled against a wall, their thin bodies pressed together for comfort. When they saw the humans, they screamed with fresh terror. Torres held up her hands, showing she meant no harm. "Easy, easy. We are here to help. We are from the human ship. We are here to save you." They stared at her with huge dark eyes. They did not look comforted. To them, humans were monsters from nightmare stories. The fact that these monsters claimed to be rescuers did not calm their fear. Stepped forward slowly. "I know you are afraid. I know you have heard bad things about us. But right now they are hunting you, and we are the only ones who can stop them. Stay here and stay quiet. We will come back for you when it is safe." One of an elderly female with pale gray skin, found her courage. "You truly came to save us. Why, we are nothing to you." Met her eyes. "You asked for help, we answered. That is what we do." He did not wait for a reply. He signaled his team and they continued down the corridor. Behind them, they watched with confused wonder. 2 sections later, they found the first. The enemy soldier stood in the middle of a cargo bay, surrounded by boxes and crates. He was 7 feet tall, covered in natural armor that looked like dark stone. In his claws, he held a young child, lifting the crying alien off the ground. Did not hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired. The plasma bolt hit in the head, punching through the armor and dropping the creature instantly. Graham rushed forward and caught the child before it hit the floor. "It is okay," Graham said softly. "You are safe now, you are safe." The child stared at him, too shocked to cry anymore. Graham carried the small alien gently, looking for somewhere safe to leave it. More appeared from doorways on both sides of the bay. 5 of them, all armed with curved blades and projectile weapons. They saw their fallen comrade and roared with anger. The firefight was brutal and short. Tors moved like water, ducking under a blade swing and putting 2 rounds into her attacker's chest. Faced 2 at once, blocking a strike with his armored forearm and crushing a throat with his other hand. Graham found cover behind a crate, still protecting the child while firing with deadly accuracy. One of them managed to land a hit. A blade cut across shoulder, slicing through his uniform and drawing blood. The pain was sharp and immediate, ignored it completely. He spun, grabbed this arm and twisted until something cracked. The creature screamed and fell, ended it with a shot to the chest. 30 seconds after it started, the fight was over. 5 lay dead on the cargo bay floor. The human stood among them, breathing hard but alive. "Sergeant, you are bleeding," Tor said. Glanced at his shoulder. The wound was deep blood soaking his uniform. He could feel the warm liquid running down his arm. It hurt badly. He did not care. "It will keep," he said. "We have more work to do." They left the cargo bay and continued their hunt. The next hour was a nightmare of close combat and desperate fighting. The humans moved through the gentle harmony, clearing section after section. They found survivors hiding in closets and storage rooms. They found warriors hunting in packs. Every encounter ended the same way, with dead enemies and rescued civilians. They could not believe what they were seeing. These humans, these creatures from a death world, were bleeding and wounded but kept fighting. They showed no fear, no hesitation, no sign of slowing down. When I attacked them, they attacked back harder. When they took injuries, they simply ignored the pain and continued. One young male watched as Private Tors took a projectile hit to her leg. The impact should have dropped her. Instead, she gritted her teeth, shot her attacker twice, and then used her rifle as a crutch to keep moving. "Does that not hurt?" he asked in wonder. Tors looked at him with a strange smile. "Hurts like hell, but I can still walk, so I am still fighting." The young did not understand. On his world, such an injury would mean immediate medical care and weeks of rest. The idea of continuing to fight through such pain was beyond his comprehension. These humans were not like any species he had ever heard of. They were something else entirely. Deep in the ship, Warlord received reports from his surviving warriors. The news was not good. The human soldiers were cutting through his forces like a fire through dry wood. Every ambush failed. Every trap was avoided or broken through. The humans fought with a ferocity that his had never encountered. "How many are there?" demanded. "6, his lieutenant replied. "Only 6, my lord." 6 could not believe it. 6 humans are defeating us. "They will not die, my lord. We wound them, but they keep fighting. We slow them, but they keep coming. I have never seen anything like it." Slammed his fist against the wall. He had brought 50 warriors for this raid. more than enough to take a defenseless colony ship, but against 6 humans his numbers meant nothing. He made a decision. He would face these humans himself. He was a warlord, a champion of 100 battles. He had killed creatures twice his size with his bare claws. These soft pink aliens would learn to fear the... He gathered his personal guard, 10 of his best warriors, and moved toward the human position. This would end now. And his team had reached the main corridor that led to the boarding tubes. Beyond those tubes was the assault ship. If they could clear this area and seal the passage, the remaining would be trapped. "Hold here," ordered. "This is where we make our stand." The team took positions behind support pillars and makeshift barricades. Tors sat down to bandage her leg properly. Graham checked his ammunition, used a medical patch on his shoulder wound, stopping the bleeding enough to keep fighting. Then arrived. The warlord was massive, almost 8 feet tall and built like a living tank. His armor was thicker than his soldiers, decorated with the bones of fallen enemies. His eyes burned with hatred as he saw the humans. "So you are the monsters from the Death Planet. You do not look so impressive to me." "Stood up from cover. You attacked innocent people. You threatened children. Where I come from, that makes you the monster." Laughed, "Brave words, but can you back them up?" He charged. The corridor exploded into chaos. Warriors attacked from all sides while the warlord himself headed straight for. Plasma bolts flew through the air. Blades clashed against rifle stocks. The humans fought back with everything they had. Mets charge head-on. The warlord was stronger but was faster. He ducked under a massive claw swipe and drove his combat knife into the gap between armor plates. The warlord roared with pain and fury. He grabbed and threw him against the wall. The impact cracked ribs, felt something break inside his chest. The pain was enormous, like fire spreading through his body. He pushed himself up anyway. "Is that all you have?" he gasped. Stared at him with disbelief. "You should not be standing." "I have been hurt worse in training." Charged again, and the battle continued. When it finally ended, lay on the floor with knife buried in his throat. His warriors were dead, scattered around the corridor like broken toys. The humans stood among them, bleeding and bruised but very much alive. Tors limped over too. "Sergeant, you look terrible." Coughed, tasting blood. "Feel terrible, but we won." He looked around at his team. Everyone was wounded, everyone was exhausted, but everyone was standing. Behind them, the survivors watched with something new in their eyes. It was not fear anymore. It was respect. It was gratitude. It was wonder. The had saved them. The battle was over. They were defeated. The boarding tubes that connected the assault ship to the Gentle Harmony were sealed and cut, sending the enemy vessel drifting away into the cold void of space. Now came the harder work, the work of healing and rebuilding. Doctor had set up an emergency medical station in the largest cargo bay of the colony ship. The tall man with gray-streaked hair moved between patients with calm efficiency, treating wounds and offering comfort to the frightened survivors. He had brought supplies from the Valor, enough to treat hundreds of injured aliens. The medical officers watched him work with amazement. Human medical technology was different from theirs, but Doctor adapted quickly. He learned their biology by asking questions and observing. Within an hour, he was treating injuries as smoothly as he treated human ones. "You learn very fast," said one doctor, a female named. "Our species takes years to master such skills. You have done it in minutes." Smiled as he bandaged a child's arm. "When you grow up on Earth, you learn to adapt or you die. My ancestors survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and 100 other disasters. Adapting is in our blood." Tilted her head, a gesture of curiosity. "I have heard stories about your world. Everyone has. But I always thought they were exaggerations, tales told to scare children." "They probably are not exaggerated at all," said. In fact, the truth is usually worse than the stories. Ambassador had been listening from nearby. He approached the human doctor with slow, careful steps. His body still trembled from the stress of the attack, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. "Doctor, may I ask you some questions? I wish to understand your species better." Finished his current patient and turned to face the ambassador. "Of course, what would you like to know?" "Why are you like this?" asked. "What kind of world creates beings such as you? Your soldiers fought through wounds that would have killed any instantly. They showed no fear of death. They protected our children with their own bodies. How is any of this possible?" Considered the question carefully. He looked around the cargo bay at the survivors, at their thin bodies and large, frightened eyes. These creatures had evolved on a paradise world. They had no concept of struggle, of survival against terrible odds. How could he explain Earth to them? He decided to start at the beginning. "My world is called Earth," he said. "It is the third planet from our sun, a medium-sized yellow star. From space, Earth looks beautiful. It has blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds. It looks peaceful." He paused, his expression growing more serious. "But Earth is not peaceful. It is one of the most dangerous worlds in the known galaxy. We did not realize this until we met other species and learned how different their home worlds were. Now we understand why everyone calls us." Sat down on a cargo container, giving his full attention. Other gathered around, listening with growing fascination. "Our planet has extreme temperature variations," continued. "Some regions are so hot that the ground cracks and blisters under the sun. Other regions are so cold that exposed skin freezes in minutes. We have seasons that shift between these extremes several times per year." "How do you survive such changes?" asked. "We adapt. We build shelters. We make clothing. We use fire for warmth and ice for cooling. When the environment tries to kill us, we find ways around it." Stood up and walked to a viewport, looking out at the stars. The followed his gaze, wondering what memories he was seeing. "Our planet is tectonically active," he said. "That means the ground itself is unstable. We have earthquakes that shake entire cities to rubble. We have volcanoes that explode with enough force to block out the sun. We have tsunamis, giant waves that cross oceans and destroy coastlines. We have hurricanes, massive storms with winds that can tear buildings apart." Felt his heart's racing. Each new detail sounded more terrifying than the last. "And your species evolved in this environment." "We did not just evolve in it, we conquered it," turned back to face the ambassador. "When a volcano erupted, we learned to predict them and evacuate before they blew. When earthquakes destroyed our cities, we rebuilt them stronger. Every disaster made us more resilient." He returned to his medical station and continued treating patients as he spoke. "Then there are the predators. Earth has millions of species, and thousands of them can kill humans. We have sharks in our oceans, fish with rows of teeth designed to tear flesh. We have bears and lions and wolves on our land, creatures that hunt and eat other animals. We have snakes with venom that stops hearts. We have insects that carry diseases killing millions of our people even today." "How do you not hide in fear?" a young asked. "How do you leave your homes?" Laughed softly. "We do not hide. We go out and face these dangers. We hunt the predators. We study the diseases. We explore the most dangerous places on our world because we want to understand them. Fear does not stop us. It drives us forward." They exchanged glances. This was beyond their comprehension. Their species had evolved to avoid danger, to seek safety and comfort. The idea of deliberately confronting threats was alien to them. "There is more," said. "Our atmosphere carries diseases that mutate constantly. New illnesses appear every year, and our bodies must fight them off or die. Our food can poison us if prepared incorrectly. Some of our favorite foods are actually toxic to other species." "Toxic foods?" asked with horror. "Why would you eat poison?" "We do not think of them as poison. We drink something called caffeine to stay alert. It is a mild stimulant that would cause heart failure in most galactic species. We eat capsaicin, a chemical compound that causes intense burning sensations. We enjoy it. We put it on almost everything. Shook his head in disbelief. You eat chemicals that burn your mouths for enjoyment. We do. We have competitions to see who can eat the most burning food. The winners are celebrated as heroes. The cargo bay had gone very quiet. Every within hearing distance was staring at the human doctor with expressions of pure amazement. These creatures were mad. They were completely and utterly mad. But was not finished. Our bodies reflect our world, he said. Our bones are dense and heavy, evolved to withstand falls and impacts. Our muscles are thick and strong, capable of feats that other species consider impossible. Our pain tolerance is measured in levels that your medical science cannot comprehend. We can lose limbs and survive. We can suffer injuries that would kill most species and walk away. He pointed to Sergeant, who was sitting in a corner getting his wounds treated by a human medic. The soldier had broken ribs, a deep shoulder wound, and multiple cuts and bruises. He was smiling and joking with his team. That man has injuries that would put any in critical care for weeks, said. He will be back on duty in a few days. That is what evolution on a death world does to a species. Stared at, then back at. You are monsters, he whispered, living weapons. Met his eyes with a gentle expression. Yes, we are. Our world made us into something terrifying. We are strong and fast and hard to kill. We can survive almost anything. We are exactly what the legends say we are. He paused and his voice softened. But here is what the legends never mention, Ambassador. Here is the truth they do not tell you about humans. He knelt down so he was at eye level with a child who had been watching the conversation. The child flinched at first, then relaxed and smiled warmly. We are dangerous because our world required it. We are strong because weakness meant death. But we choose how to use that strength. We choose what to do with the power our evolution gave us. He looked back at. When we heard your distress call, we did not come for conquest. We did not come for profit. We came because you needed help and we could provide it. We came because protecting the weak is what we believe in. That is who we choose to be. The cargo bay was silent. They looked at the human doctor with new eyes. They saw not a monster but a guardian, not a destroyer but a protector. Felt tears forming in his large dark eyes. We were so afraid of you, he said. We thought calling for your help was the worst decision I ever made. Stood up and offered his hand in the human gesture of friendship. And now. Took the hand carefully, marveling at how warm and strong it felt. Now, I believe it was the best decision of my life. 3 days had passed since the battle with the raiders. The gentle Harmony was still damaged, but Chief Engineer Laura and her team from the Valor had worked miracles with the alien technology. The colony ship's engines were back online. Life support was fully restored. The worst of the hull breaches had been sealed. Was a woman in her 40s with graying brown hair and hands that were never still. She had spent her entire career learning how machines worked, and she approached the technology with the same curiosity she showed all new puzzles. Your power systems are elegant, she told the engineers who watched her work. Very clean, very efficient, but they lack redundancy. When one system fails, everything fails. We humans build backup systems for our backup systems. Why so many backups? Asked the chief engineer. Does your technology fail so often? Laughed. No, but we expect things to fail eventually. Our whole species is built around preparing for the worst. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. That is how we think. The engineers nodded slowly, making notes on their data pads. They had learned more about practical engineering in 3 days with humans than they had in years of their own training. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out. Humans and worked side by side, learning from each other and building connections that neither species had expected. The children adapted fastest, as children always do. On the second day, the children had stopped hiding from the humans. By the third day, they were following the human soldiers everywhere. Private Amy Torres had become their favorite, despite her bandaged leg and the limp that slowed her walking. "Tell us another story about Earth," demanded a young named. He was barely 4 feet tall, with huge eyes that seemed to take up half his face. "Tell us about the thunderstorms." Torres sat on a cargo container with 7 children gathered around her. She smiled at their eager faces. "Thunderstorms are when the sky gets angry," she said, using simple words they could understand. "Dark clouds gather and the air gets thick and heavy. Then lightning comes down from the clouds to the ground. It is pure electricity, so hot that it could melt metal. And the sound it makes, the thunder, is so loud it shakes the windows." "Are you scared of thunder?" asked. "When I was little, yes. But my mother taught me to count the seconds between the lightning and the thunder, 1 second for every mile away. She made a game of it and soon I was not scared anymore. I was fascinated." The children looked at each other with wonder. Humans turned fear into games. They played with lightning and counted thunder. Every story made them seem more incredible. Corporal Graham sat nearby, showing pictures to another group of children. He had pulled up images on his personal device, photographs from Earth that he had collected over the years. "This is a dog," he said, pointing to a picture of a golden retriever. "They are called man's best friend. We keep them as pets." A child pointed at the dog's mouth. "It has sharp teeth. Is it dangerous?" "Only to your shoes and furniture," Graham said with a grin. "Dogs are loyal and loving. They protect their families with their lives. Some dogs work alongside soldiers and police, helping to find lost people or catch criminals." "You trust a creature with such teeth?" "With my life. I had a dog named Duke when I was a boy. He slept at the foot of my bed every night. When I was sad, he would put his head on my lap and look at me with those big brown eyes until I felt better." The children found this amazing. They kept tiny predators as friends and protectors. Nothing about humans made sense, and yet everything about them seemed wonderful. Ambassador watched these interactions with a full heart. His people had been so afraid of humans. They had believed every terrible story, every frightening legend. Now he saw the truth. Humans were powerful, yes. Humans were dangerous, certainly. But they were also kind, patient, and generous. He found Commander Mitchell on the bridge of the Gentle Harmony, overseeing the final repairs. The human commander looked tired. He had barely slept in 3 days, personally supervising every aspect of the rescue and repair operation. "Commander, may I speak with you?" Mitchell turned and smiled. "Of course, Ambassador, how can I help?" "You have done so much already. You saved our lives, you healed our wounded, you repaired our ship, you gave us hope when we had none. Why?" Mitchell considered the question. He walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. "When I was a boy," he said, "my father told me a story. He said that strength without purpose is just destruction. Power without direction is chaos. The measure of a person," he said, "is not what they can do, but what they choose to do with what they have." He turned back to face the ambassador. "Humans have strength. Our world gave us that, but what matters is how we use it. We could use it to conquer, to dominate, to take. Some humans have tried that throughout our history. They usually fail in the end because taking from others makes you weaker, not stronger." "Then what makes you stronger?" "Protecting others, building alliances, making friends instead of enemies. When we received your distress call, we had a choice. We could ignore it and stay safe, or we could answer it and risk our lives for strangers. We chose to answer." Felt the words settle into his soul. "And if we had been enemies, if we had attacked you, then we would have defended ourselves, but you were not enemies. You were people in trouble. That is all we needed to know." The ambassador took a deep breath. What he was about to say would change the future of his entire species. He hoped he was making the right choice. "Commander Mitchell, on behalf of the people, I wish to make a formal request." Mitchell straightened, sensing the importance of the moment. "I am listening." "For centuries our species has avoided Earth and her children. We believed the warnings. We thought you were monsters to be feared and shunned. We were wrong." He stepped forward and extended his thin hand in the human fashion. "You are not monsters. You are guardians. You are the shield that the weak never knew they needed. The people would be honored to establish formal relations with Earth. We wish to call thee our friends." Mitchell took the ambassador's hand gently, careful not to squeeze. A smile spread across his tired face. "We would be honored, Ambassador. Earth has been alone in the galaxy for too long. It is time we made some friends." They shook hands as the bridge crew watched. Human and officers exchanged looks of surprise and hope. This was the beginning of something new, something that could change everything. 2 hours later, the USS Valor prepared to depart. The colony ship's repairs were complete. They had enough supplies to reach their destination. It was time for the humans to go home. But something unexpected happened first. The entire population of the Gentle Harmony gathered in the main corridor to see the humans off. 3,000 lined the walls, their huge eyes watching as the human soldiers walked toward the airlock. There was no fear in those eyes anymore. Only gratitude, only respect, only love. The children ran forward first. Little threw his thin arms around Tor's waist, hugging her tightly. "Will you come back?" he asked. "Will we see you again?" Tors knelt down and gently returned the hug. "I hope so, little one. I hope so." Other children surrounded the human soldiers, touching their hands, their uniforms, their gear. The adults followed, offering words of thanks in their musical language. Some wept openly. Some simply bowed their heads in silent respect. Sergeant, still bandaged and sore from his wounds, found himself facing the elderly female he had first met during the battle. She reached up and touched his face with her delicate fingers. "You bled for us," she said softly. "You suffered for strangers. I do not have words to thank you properly." Felt his throat tighten. "You do not need words, ma'am. Just live well. That is thanks enough." The farewell took almost an hour. When the human team finally boarded the Valor and the ship separated, both crews felt the weight of the moment. Commander Mitchell stood on his bridge as the Gentle Harmony grew smaller in the colony ship's lights blinked in a pattern that he recognized. It was a message in standard galactic code. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." He smiled and ordered his communication officer to reply with the same message. As the Valor jumped to hyperspace, its course set for Earth, a new story began spreading across the galaxy. The story traveled from system to system, station to station, world to world. It was the story of the Gentle Harmony and the humans who had saved it. The galaxy learned that the of Earth were real. They were everything the legend said, strong and fierce and impossible to kill. But they were also something else, something unexpected, something wonderful. They were protectors, they were friends, they were heroes. And they were just getting started. The universe would never be the same.